Hello, this is Greg Meltzer, and welcome to the final presentation for EdHD MapReduce AutoGrader. The motivation for this project has several reasons. Distributed computing can be hard to learn. Current courses that are starting to appear in colleges are using Hadoop MapReduce, but there are currently no autograders for Hadoop MapReduce. Autograders are important for software courses because they reduce the feedback cycle for assignments, and they also lighten the load for instructors, which is very important for a Hadoop MapReduce class. The reasons for this is the number of faculty required to manually assign or manually grade assignments can be quite large, and they do need significant knowledge of the actual Hadoop cluster itself. My project consists of two main components, GenMapRed and EdHD. GenMapRed stands for the generic MapReduce job runner. It is a configurable job runner that instead of having to write a Java driver for your MapReduce application, you simply configure a JSON document and use this generic job runner that can run arbitrary MapReduce jobs. In addition to the standard configuration properties you would expect for a MapReduce job, such as the output value class and output key class, the mapper class, the reducer class, it also supports arbitrary properties. These arbitrary properties, along with the rest of the standard properties, all get added to the jobs context so that you can actually access these attributes during runtime. This opens doors for assignments that may have further configuration. For example, you may have a lot of time series data, but for the assignment, you only want to use data within a certain start and end date. That could be done by adding arbitrary start date and end date configuration properties and then accessing them from within the job. Another key important detail here is that the job itself supports a primary and secondary configuration. Values in your primary configuration cannot be overwritten, whereas values in the secondary can be used to fill in values that may be missing in your primary. This is useful in the context of an autograder where the assignment would be your primary configuration. All students use the same primary configuration, but an individual submission is a secondary configuration. So the actual implementation of the student is a secondary configuration and fills in the missing values in the primary. On the right, you see an example JSON job for a simple word count job. So we're specifying that we want to use the examples.wordCount mapper class and the word count reducer class. The output should be of type text and int writable, and we're going to be using the books.txt file at the root in HDFS. The second component, which is the main component, is EdHD. EdHD is the actual auto-grading application. It allows for assignment creation, assignment submission. It has a built-in HDFS browser, and it will automatically validate student submissions. To show this off, I will start with a little demo. So here we have EdHD. This is what you will first see when coming to the site. If you don't have an account, you can sign up. Since I already have an account, I will sign in. The first screen you see is the assignment screen after signing in. This shows all of the assignments currently configured within EdHD. Each assignment shows up as a card with the pertinent information being the title and due date along with a description, and then the status of submissions on the right. Now I am an admin, so I can see both my own submissions as well as all submissions on EdHD. I also have access to some administrative features such as the ability to edit, delete, and download submissions. But before we actually take a look at how submissions work, let's take a look at creating an assignment. So an assignment can have a description or a name. I'm going to give it the name word count again. This can, in fact, be multi-line. And it can have a due date. Now, below in this section, this is where the actual meat of the assignment is configured. We have two tabs, assignment and validation. The assignment tab is that primary configuration that everyone will have to use. So for this, I'm going to specify that we want this to be our input path. We want the, since we're doing a word count, we want the output to be the words and the count of the words. This is a very simple assignment, so that's all we need for the standard options. On the right, we can see that we can have custom configurations. These can have any name, and we can give them any arbitrary value. Now, appendable on the right allows me to change whether or not the secondary configuration can add to this value. So if I make this one appendable and then add another one, this value will not, you will not be able to add additional values to a non-appendable field in the secondary configuration. So this is it for the main primary configuration. Now, what is validation? Validation, since we're dealing with Hadoop MapReduce, making the validation data by hand can be impractical. So part of an assignment creation, part of the assignment definition is the validator. This is a instructor submission that is used to generate the validation data. The actual configuration is actually identical to what a student will see, where primary configuration values are grayed out, and it shows you what custom configurations there are. As I mentioned before, since foo is appendable, I can add it again here and give it my own value. Now, when it gets submitted, the job will have access to foo with both the values ASDF and bar. For the non-appendable field, because it is non-appendable, the application won't let me add it again. So for the validator, we're going to say it should use the and this is everything we need for this particular assignment. For other assignments, you can also use all of these other classes: partitioner, sort comparator, grouping comparator, so on. We just hit create assignment. And now, as we can see, we have another card down here, and this is showing us the status of the validator job. Moving on, we can look at an already made assignment. So, as I mentioned before, the configuration does look very similar to what the instructor sees when configuring their validator. For a student, you can attach a zip with your source file. I will actually choose a different one. And then same thing. Now that it's configured, we can submit our assignment, and it will actually show the status of my assignment as well. As you can see, the status is red because there was a compilation error, and we can click that and it'll show us the actual error messages from the compiler. Looks like we were using, looks like something went wrong around here. If it had run, all of the status indicators would be green. The last main feature within EdHD is the HDFS browser. The HDFS browser is a built-in browser for HDFS. We can navigate through the folders. We can go up. As any user, you can do this. You can also, if you click a file, it will show you a preview of the file, which is the first few lines. And then you can also, if you want, download the file. And now we have that entire file. As an administrator, I can also add folders. Go into that folder, and then I can also update or upload files. So this is nice because it allows instructors to add test data and create assignments and manage assignments without ever having to directly interface with the Hadoop cluster itself. Another advantage of this system is that it is fairly lightweight. This entire demo has been running on a 5-node Raspberry Pi cluster, and there is very little performance problems with it. There is a limit in this instance to the amount of data that can be processed, but it can definitely scale up to a full Hadoop cluster. File upload, for example, within EdHD is limited to 2 gigabytes, but for just teaching the basics of distributed computing, that is enough. If you want more realistic assignments, you can either configure EdHD to accept larger files, or you can manually go to the Hadoop cluster and upload data outside of the EdHD application itself. This concludes the demo for EdHD. Thank you very much.